Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Canada Guns talk show, episode 45. The Queen's Cowboys are at it again. I am your host, Dick Rover, and here with us tonight are two other enthusiasts. Say hello, enthusiasts.
Hello, enthusiasts.
Hello, enthusiasts.
That's right. That's Jenner Pants and Crazy Nine from Canada Guns also. And boys.
Mentalgen.
Who's got their prohibiteds kicking around, huh? Anybody got any prohibiteds kicking around? Uh-oh. Whoa, look at that. Oh, look at all that aluminum. Oh, my God.
I don't know if this is made of aluminum or tin, but...
Yeah, probably. Hey, you know what? That's a 0.25%.
The real question is it easily convertible?
No. Hey, you know what? Machining is easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy.
I'll go grab my Enfield. I mean, sorry, my 80% complete Howell automatic.
Hey! You guys want to see a 98% complete M16 lower? Oh, look at that! It's 98% to an M16 lower. All you gotta do is do some easy machining, right, guys? Just some easy machining.
Totally.
That's right.
Easy machining, and you get yourself an M16 lower.
I'm an idiot, and I have to go search for a little black thing that fell out of my gun.
I'm telling you, you gotta sell that fucking thing. But yes.
Maintenance isn't a problem, it's just when things don't work. This still works, it just needs maintenance.
Yeah, see, it shouldn't need that maintenance every second time you fucking go shoot it. But we were circle jerking, yes. 80% lowers, unfinished lowers, anything and everything that was a design that started out as fully automatic and it is a blank or not finished. Those are full auto firearms now. Full auto firearm. Hey, Jenner, hold up your full auto firearm.
Right there.
Right there.
Just looking through the scrap pile out back, I've got several tons of full auto firearms, apparently.
Apparently. But we shall take a moment to take a deep breath, everyone, and talk about what we did in guns in the last 3 weeks, because we skipped out on last week because I had work. So, Jenner, what have you been up to?
Oh, lots of range time with the pistol. Been stopping in after work quite a bit. That's been going well. Pistol caliber carbine around the farm. I built some more ground targets for my shotgun, so I've been playing with that quite a bit. Other than that, on Saturday, I shot a 3-gun match at Chaz. Had a great time. Rifle was lightning fast and accurate. Super happy with that. Pistol was great. And my damn shotgun kept jamming left and right, and I'm still not sure why. So I took it out the night before, put about 50 rounds through it. Not a single jam, got it up to the competition, and jamming all the time. So I haven't had a chance to take it apart and see what's going on. If something changed, or maybe there's a chunk of crap somewhere. Maybe it's just dirty. I don't know. I don't know when the last time I cleaned it was. So maybe that's an indication it needs cleaned. But overall, I'm still very happy with my performance, and it was fun. Other than that, that's about it. Work has been a little bit stupid, so yeah, getting out to shoot guns when I can and competing always.
Excellent. Good to hear. Way to keep up the good work, senor. Hey, Crazy.
Yes?
What have you been up to?
Well, for one, I just found out why this revolver cylinder is being so gritty. It fucking started rusting inside there. How in the fuck?
Buddy.
I'm real pissed off about this. Anyway, the only gun-related thing I did is I sold that Mossberg I got.
Oh, it finally fucking sold?
Yep.
How much did you get for it?
I got 500. I took a pretty big hit on it because I just bought a car. And I was thinking I could use that money for
Mariner. What are they? 700.
700.
Yeah, you took not a big hit. You took a hit on it though.
Yep. Anyway,
it's out of your hands. Now you got money.
Out of my hands. I got money. I bought a car, 2009 Pontiac G5.
So yeah, you'll hear lots of complaining about why you picked that over anything else. I mean, Elixir wants you to buy a Lada, right?
Da, товарищ, buy Lada, best car in Soviet Union. Also only car in Soviet Union.
That's right. So why you picked that car? I know it's not gun related, but
No, it was just what was in my price range. It was low mileage. When I looked at it, it didn't seem to have much rust. Yeah. And yeah, it was just kind of in my budget. What I had all the stuff I was looking for. Then I got it home and noticed there was actually more rust that I didn't see underneath all the paint. On the doors in particular. So now that I bought it, I'm stuck with it. So now I have to do something about it.
well, you don't have to do something about it. Keep in mind that you got yourself a 8-year-old car.
Yeah, but I drove a 10-year-old Mazda and it had 0 rust. And the reason I'm not driving that still is because me and my sister would share that, and I didn't want to keep sharing that.
Yeah. But no, man, it's a car, and car's a car. Now you got wheels, son.
Yep, I got my own wheels. I don't have to worry about whether the car is in Guelph or Toronto or wherever.
And you got a couple of years till you get your big package of experience at 25, and suddenly your insurance rates drop.
A year.
Oh, a year! Look at that. In a year, you're gonna get your insurance fairy's gonna drop off that big old package on your front doorstep, and
hey, yeah,
you're gonna do the magic paperwork, and then magically insurance rates are gonna drop.
Yep, congratulations! You are now suddenly responsible because you weren't before.
Exactly. Granted, statistics don't lie.
Except when they do.
Except when they do. And when they apply to you, they're always a lie. What did I do? Well, I was a busy little bee. I finally assembled it. It is complete. The ultimate build is assembled. It is Mesa Technical Urbino stock in an 870 Wingmaster receiver with S&J oversized safety, Hogue forend, and S&J +1 extension, wearing a 14-inch, what the hell is this, cylinder bore, Remington barrel. This thing slings slugs so nicely. So nicely. It points the most naturally out of every single stock I've ever owned, and it is the only shotgun that I will actively use a pistol grip with. The Mossberg just doesn't work for me. The release is not in a good spot for the Mossberg, the slide release, but it's all right on the Remington. Luckily, for some reason, as a lefty, I can reach the slide release better than a righty on 870s, which is nice.
So you say it slings slugs really well, but how well does it actually sling shotguns?
I don't know. It slings shotguns pretty solidly, I reckon. You would think that I'd be happy with how it is, but unfortunately, I just can't stop fucking with my guns. So I got myself some Durco. Yeah.
Finally, the return of the Crover guns.
The return of the Crover guns. And if things go according to plan, then hopefully they are going to start looking a little bit like this. Yeah. Janner was kind enough to help me. This is going to be the base coat. It's going to be white, and hopefully the stock and the crowbar is going to look like that. And then I'm going to paint the whole fucking 870 white. And then I'm going to put something cool on it, but I don't know what. It's going to be a blank canvas.
That was the wrong image you just showed.
Which one did I show? You're funny. You're a funny guy, Sully. And what else did I do? I shot a 22 silhouette match, kinda. I belong to the Vancouver Island Arms Collectors Association, and it's pretty cool. It's a whole bunch of old guys, and they have a whole bunch of old guns, and then they get together every Wednesday, third Wednesday of the month, and then they talk about old guns. And my God, there's shit that I've seen that those guys bring in. Really rare things. And they had their yearly fun shoot this weekend, where there was a 22 silhouette match, kinda. It was at about 20-25 yards. there were an assortment of targets that you shot and got graded on, and there were little trophies and prizes for each one of the targets. Among them, there was a squirrel, which I shot its balls off. There was a turkey shoot, which I shot its head off. Or no, I got 2 chest shots on that. And there was a pistol match that I shot with the 357 Magnum. The long bean has helped. However, the fact that I was testing new loads with it didn't. And about 6 out of the 10 shots that I took on that target were on paper but off target because they was hitting higher than I was expecting. And I didn't really correct my holdover until about the last 4 shots, which landed in the target and gave me a nice score. So I would have had a much better target, and I probably would have won that if I had only fucking test shot those beforehand. The fiance came with. She shot a match too, and she did well enough. She had paper hits, which is always good for a beginner. She had to use my lefty bolt action 22 caliber rifle, and she did well. She did well. I almost tried to shoot the gong shot at about 75 yards with my AR. However, this being an old folks game, they only used iron-sighted 22s, and it was open sights only, no scopes. So unfortunately, I did not bring my backup irons with this because I had stripped this rifle of everything that was heavy, up to and including. I took out my patented range Snickers out of it for the shot, which I never ended up using anyway. So that was a little disappointing. Other than that, I had a lot of fun. I took that lighting guy with me. He is a much better shot than me, so I really shouldn't have brought him to a competition because he won 2 out of the 12 events, this son of a bitch. What else? What else? What else? Oh, yeah, I bought this thing. Yeah. It is as shiny as the pictures make it look to be, and even shinier in person. I've been trying to scrub off the burn mark on the front of the cylinder a little bit, and have been moderately successful. It is a much nicer in terms of overall quality and finish. It's hard to see, and you cannot see it at this point, but this thing, the cylinder gap on it is absolutely ridiculous. It's almost non-existent. It's there, but it's almost non-existent. And since the transfer paperwork actually hasn't gone through yet in Ontario, I'm still in possession of the other one.
Oh, if it's in Ontario, I heard the CFO's on vacation all week.
So, I am in possession of these 2 guys. And if anybody knows, if the transfer hasn't gone through, can I take the gun to the range still? Crazy seems to think maybe. What about you, Jenner?
In my situation, absolutely I can, but that's because I'm still on the old LTATT, which says that I can transport any guns I have the registration certificate for. The new one, I believe, is guns that are registered to you, but since the transfer hasn't gone through, then that gun is still registered to you. So yeah, I think you're fine.
You know what that means, right? Akimbo 44s at the range. It might happen, folks. It might happen. I might have to take a little trip to the range with 2 44 Magnums. That's going to be very exciting for a lot of different people. Other than that, I think that's everything that I did in these last 3 weeks. My Tumblr died, and I've been researching trying to find another one, and I just cannot find one. So, yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention. I should have had it here. That I know watches this show semi-regularly picked me up a backpack for my JR Carbine. The actual JR Carbine backpack for the takedown model.
Awesome. Somebody did that for you?
Yeah, he found one up in his neck of the woods and sent me an email and says, "Hey, do you want it?" And I said, "Absolutely." So he picked it up for me. So thank you very much. And it's a super sweet little package. It'll hold 6 magazines in the magazine pouch, has a slot for the barrel, slot for the core end, straps to tie down the lower receiver, and then there's still room to haul shit in it too. It's a nice little pack for sure.
So you're going to operate operationally in different locations while...
Oh, I feel like a little spy. You unfold this little backpack and start screwing shit together, and all of a sudden you got this gun. It's awesome.
Oh man, that's actually pretty fucking sweet, man.
Yeah, it's a neat little setup.
That is sweet, sweet, sweet. And well, I guess that it is now time to address the many issues that we have yet to address in this last 3 weeks. First and foremost, the long gun registry data that was deleted but wasn't has now been given to Quebec. If it was deleted, how are they getting anything right now, folks? Anybody care to give their 2 cents about this?
From what I've read, apparently, despite the fact that the data was supposed to have been deleted, the RCMP, according to records from 2015, still had more than half the data from the long gun registry.
Well, I mean, if you look at how crappy their websites are, it stands to reason that it would take them 5 years just to make their recycle bin empty. I don't know.
Speaking from personal experience dealing with the RCMP, they take their time with everything. Everything. It takes weeks to get a simple yes or no out of them. So for them to be deleting an entire database, I find it very, very not surprising that they not only kept but maintained it in some degree or another. And that they're seemingly, according to the government, going to fork over the entire thing to Quebec, even though there is other provinces' data in there. So it's not explicitly said that way in the legislation, as far as I understand. As far as I understand, they're just saying the data is going to be given over, and there is no clause indicating that it's only Quebec data that's going to be given to it, to that particular province. So Quebec's gonna enact a new, possibly, registration mandate, whatever, with 3-4-year-old outdated data. That should be fun.
All kinds of sense.
Makes all kinds of sense, you know? It's going to be extremely effective, I'm sure, just as the old one was. Extremely under budget, just as the old one was. And an excellent deterrent for crime, just as the old one was. Isn't that right, boys?
Oh, that's the part I never got. They say,
Absolutely.
oh, it's safety of our officers. We'll check the database, and then we know if that house has guns. Yeah, so if they check it, oh, la-di-da, I'll just take off my bulletproof vest and leave my gun in the car because the registry says there can't be a gun in here.
Can't be. There just can't be a gun in there.
There was actually 2 officers who died from doing that.
Yes.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That doesn't surprise me at all. And folks, next item on the discussion list is the NEA 102. Finally, maybe possibly gets an FRT number.
Are you kidding me? Really?
They've been teasing it, yep.
They've been teasing it.
They've been teasing it for months, though.
They have been teasing it for months, but I guess the teasing has intensified.
Yes.
Teasing intensifies. Yes, for those that don't know, NEA, Northeastern Arms, has been in development of a non-restricted 5.56 .223 rifle in a similar pattern, but not quite.
308.
AR-15.
It's a 308 rifle.
Oh, is it 308?
Possibly 6.5 Creedmoor, and potentially 223 in the future.
Well, look at that. I got that information wrong. Thank you, folks, for correcting me. And yes, if that's the case, then this might be another element in the non-restricted black rifle market. The main point of interest being, however, that it may, because there's still nothing, no confirmation at all, sub $2,000 in
$1,600 is what they're teasing.
$1,600 range, which
Now-
is almost $1,000 cheaper than the next available non-restricted black rifle.
I'd say so. What I'm curious about now, and I mean, I hope it works. It's an awesome idea, but if it's NEA quality, I'd rather have a pointy stick.
It's a valid point. For those of you that are not familiar with NEA, you would not be advised to buy their products when they first started making AR-15s. The main issue being, I believe, discrepancies in the tolerances in their first products, as in you bought some of their shit expecting it to fit on your gun and it didn't work. As in it did not fit in your gun, not that it wouldn't function or anything, it's just it wouldn't go in it, or your gun wouldn't be put together or something like that. Is that correct? Anybody can corroborate?
Yeah, actually, I had a buddy that bought some of their stuff over Christmas and still had the same issue. Couldn't get the bolt to run inside the upper receiver, and the lower receiver was sloppier than a Glock. So, unfortunate.
With any luck, it's not going to be in that case, and also it's not going to be in the Alberta Tactical side of things with their $3,500 non-restricted black rifle that is totally worth $3,500.
Don't forget, you can only feed it match ammo.
That's right, because everything about it is match quality, including their chamber, and therefore anything that is subpar or surplus or cheap, why, that's egregious to be run through that gun, don't you think, folks?
Well, everything's match quality about it except the accuracy, from what I hear.
You're telling me that $4,000 rifle doesn't shoot sub MOA?
Allegedly, I've never shot one.
If Alberta Tactical Rifle wants to send us a couple of lenders and we can test that claim, then send us a message. We'll test your guns. Aside from that, folks, we're going to take a second right now to talk about a very serious subject. Over the weekend, I believe, there was an incident at the BC Kamloops range during a competition where a black badge instructor who was running a stage suffered an accident and shot himself in the chest in some way or another. And
not a lot of details, but yeah.
Not a lot of details. I believe that details are going to be released once the coroner's inquest is done. And the reason that this is of such serious nature, aside from the fact that this sort of thing is extremely rare and uncommon, much less at a gun range and much less during an event by a accredited organization and happening to a certified black badge instructor, is that this is it hits close to a couple of users on the subreddit who knew the individual personally, and I believe that out of respect for them, we will keep the discussion civil, the speculation to a minimum, to nil, and just a moment of silence I think would be appropriate for him. You know. And with that, buddy, you're in our thoughts and well wishes, and hopefully the healing process for his significant other and friends is as painless as possible. And folks, remember the 4 rules. Not accent proof, the 4 rules. The actual ones, not the Canuck version that does its job to an extent. On to the next topic. Full auto firearms. Crazy, I muted your mic, by the way. Full auto firearms, folks. Full auto firearms. Full auto firearms. I just I can't get my head around this. It's can anybody?
No. The 80% lower, I mean, that one's been asking for trouble for a while, right? It's not a firearm, but I don't agree with it, but I can understand the logic behind that one having to be registered, possibly. What I don't understand is how they make the leap to prohib. Because, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. Let's just say any gun can be made fully automatic, easier than it is to machine your own block. What really puzzles me is they say blanks. Blanks are prohibited. Well, what the fuck's a blank? If I have a machine shop...
I mean, if I smelted this and turned it into a slightly different shape...
Yeah, so basically they're saying metal is illegal.
And they're saying metal plastic is illegal too, remember?
Any material that's bigger than the firearm I'm trying to make is technically a blank.
You got a chunk of metal this size, you got yourself a fully automatic M16, according to the new interpretation of the law. And that is the thing that you must keep in mind, folks. This is an interpretation of the law. It is not law. The RCMP does not have powers to make law. It is outside of their reach.
They are assuming intent. They're assuming that anybody that buys a blank is making a full auto. Which, honestly, at the end of the day, if I wanted a full auto M16, why would I not just go talk to some local motorcycle enthusiasts and pick it up for a few $100 to $1,000? No, instead, I will invest tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of machine shop equipment, educate myself on how to machine. It doesn't.
Wait, hold on. You don't need to educate yourself. What are you talking about? Machining is easy.
Oh, well, sorry. Yeah.
Machining is easy.
Thinking? It's definitely not an apprenticeship with schooling and accreditation.
Hey, crazy.
Yes.
Why don't you go grab yourself a Dremel, bud, and get onto that machining?
Yeah, man. Fuck, I'll get right on that.
Get right on that, you know? That's the whole point of this, folks. You take yourself one of these bad boy lowers right here, and you easily machine it into a fully automatic M16. No problem. Isn't that right, folks? No problem at all.
Super easy.
That is from the horse's mouth, according to a user on the subreddit who contacted the CFO this morning upon hearing of this absolute hogwash. He was told that anything that can be easily made to discharge ammunition or to, be like a firearm. I'm trying to remember the goddamn fucking wording. It's so fucking stupid. It makes me angry. The wording of it is just preposterous. Where the fuck is it? God damn it. Okay, I outline all of this, the reasoning, in my post on our guns, because I managed to get this approved for our guns, which was kind of fun. Let me see. There you are. There it is, folks. Basically, the rationale and mental gymnastics to get to the conclusion that all unfinished lowers and receivers are firearms is the following. The legislation outlines that anything that can be adapted for use as a firearm will be considered a firearm. Following that logic, machining is easy, and therefore anything that can be machined into a firearm shall be considered a firearm. No, I am not joking. Here is the direct quote from I Am a Trapper. I just spoke with the techs in Ottawa, and their interpretation is, so long as the blank, in whatever state it may be in, can be easily turned into a firearm, it is a firearm. And since machining is, quote, easy, that any completion of the receiver is enough. Any completion of the receiver is enough. Simply put, cutting some 70-75 bar stock to size would be a firearm. Having made that leap in reasoning, any unfinished receiver or 80% lower can be easily machined into a firearm. So they shall be henceforth be considered a firearm. According to the RCMP, this lower or unfinished receiver shall be given a serial number on a finished area that does not need further work. Once you have accomplished that leap in logic, all AR-15 lowers and blanks can be machined into M16 lowers. Therefore, all blanks and 80% are now considered fully automatic firearms and therefore prohibited under the current legislation. Everybody take a breath, because I need it myself. So, you have in your possession an 80% lower. What should you do? I believe that the advice given to all 1022 magazine owners, which the capacity of the magazine was exceeding 10 rounds, applies to this subject matter too. Don't do anything. Keep it in your safe, keep your mouth shut, and wait for the poor bastard that has to go through the courts to get this thing thrown out. And folks, that seems to be what we may have to do. Of course, we are going to get started right the fuck away, the same way we did with the 1022 issue, writing to your representatives. That is your member of parliament, your local fucking provincial representative, your goddamn municipal one, posting about this in your local ranges, your sporting goods stores, passing it along on Facebook, on Twitter, via text message, give people a call, send them letters. And let me go back further to the members of parliament. Send them physical letters. They must give you a reply. With the emails, they can just tell you that they read them and then they're going to pass it along. With the letters, it seems to be that they actually have to give you a reply. Following that logic again, just with the 1022 magazine issue too. This is not going to go away, folks, until it is before the courts. Until the courts have told the RCMP, no, you do not make law. No, this interpretation is wrong. If that's the way they so choose to look at the legislation. Keep in mind, folks, that while you and I and everybody here agrees that this is complete and utter bullshit, there exists the possibility that the RCMP could convince the courts that this is true. In the event of that, and in accordance with Varsel, the local CanadaGuns firearms lawyer, since these lowers and these blanks are prohibited firearms, they cannot be simply destroyed. You cannot take a bandsaw to it. You cannot smelt it. They must be surrendered to a peace officer or a firearms tech. Those are the only two people allowed to take from your possession a prohibited firearm. This is from Varsel, the local lawyer in CanadaGuns. He has litigated against the RCMP before and won, so I will defer to his judgment in the subject matter. Folks, what do you have to say?
Well, I think I always like analyzing the laws and the interpretations of the RCMP whenever they go and do shit like this. And it really comes down to just they are figuring out how to interpret the definition of a firearm in the criminal code. The problem becomes with how general they're really applying that definition. It could actually prohibit blocks of billet aluminum or steel pipes. It simply says anything that can be adapted for use as a firearm. And we've already seen people adapt steel pipes from Home Depot into a fucking shotgun. So when you look at this definition of what can of this and how the RCMP is attempting to apply it now, they actually could, by no stretch of the imagination, start banning fucking pipes because it could be easily turned into a firearm. It's absolutely fucking ludicrous here. And of course, the government's not going to tell them no. So yeah, we have to wait until the court tells them no if the court decides to tell them no. Which frankly, I think they would. Not necessarily on whether or not they are a firearm, but that it's not an M16 until it's made into an M16. That's what I think. I think the court would rule with the RCMP that yes, these are firearms, because that's about the only thing you can make out of an 80% lower. But I think the courts would decide to tell the RCMP, but they're not a fully automatic M16 until someone has machined it out to actually take an M16 fire control group.
And that brings us to another interesting point in this discussion, folks. The differences between this lower here, marked M4 carbine by Colt, and the lowers used by military forces in the U.S. marked M4 carbine is what? Janitor, do you know? Isn't it like a hole and a little bit of milling on the inside of the lower?
Yeah, there's a different shelf in there, and there's a hole, and then a different trigger grouping. Yep.
So that's a set of parts and
You need
millwork.
to know where to exactly drill that hole.
That's right.
I don't know.
But with enough reference images on the internet, I'm sure you could figure that out. It does set a dangerous precedent, too, when you look at this, with the RCMP trying to basically say that if any kind of millwork is easy, it's almost as if they're setting it up to prohibit the AR-15 categorically as easy to convert to an M16 fully automatic firearm, because all it requires in is some easy millwork to mill out the receiver cavity to be able to accommodate an M16's full auto components.
That's right. How you doing, Elixir?
Oh, wonderful.
We were just circle jerking. You want to join in?
Absolutely.
Excellent, young man. Now, do you care that your 0% bolt action rifle receiver could potentially become prohibited?
Yes.
That's right, folks, because really, if it's a chunk of steel, chunk of metal, anything, and they say that that could potentially at some point be fully automatic, well, then that's out. That's out. It's out. Anybody that owns these at this moment is in possession of prohibited firearms. And if you lack that license, well, then you're wonderfully shit out of luck.
And here's the thing, it's not even a 12-2 prohibited license, because these are not grandfather prohibited firearms from before 1978. This would require a business firearms prohibited license for you to be in possession of these kinds of things, which is not something that the RCMP give out willy-nilly. These are considered newly manufactured prohibited firearms and are therefore just categorically illegal to own in Canada without, like I said, some form of business license. So there is no license an individual could obtain to actually be able to own these legally.
Easily.
Yeah, easily. I mean, unless someone wants to go through the hassle of trying to register themselves as a business, but good luck, because the CFO could just tell them to fuck themselves.
That's right. So yes, even a chunk of steel, even a chunk of metal, 0% lowers, which are a thing, which is just a, what is it? I don't know, the dimensions are somewhere.
It's a hunk of 70, 75, or 60, 68 billet aluminum.
Yep. And the rationale, nobody understands. The intentions, everybody's speculating on. And at the end of the day, that's all we can do at this point, folks. We can speculate.
The police wants to kill your puppers.
The RCMP is coming for your puppers, folks. They're coming for the puppers.
The interesting thing, too, when you look at the response to these kinds of things on our Canada, it's actually generally negative towards the RCMP. But when you look at how people respond to this on our Canada, they go, look, at this point, like, I don't own guns and I don't care about them, but the RCMP are being stupid. And I'm seeing that more and more often in our Canada, that people are just going, the RCMP are doing these things arbitrarily and stupidly and in contradiction of all factual evidence. So gun control is actually an unpopular opinion.
Keep in mind also, folks, that these are echo chambers. So if a few people sway the public opinion in one favor or another, or if a particular demographic is overrepresented, then you might understandably find some biased opinions. General public, the not in my backyard kind of people, the whatever you want to call representatives of the groups that are for gun control. What are the numbers? I don't know. Does anybody know the numbers really? Is the federal election something that we can use to gauge the numbers?
Not for people for or against gun control. Potentially, if you look at rural liberal ridings, primarily. You actually saw that after Jean Chrétien enacted the Firearms Act. The Liberals estimated that the long gun registry cost them, I think it was like 60-something ridings in rural areas because of the unpopularity of it.
So, at this point, to summarize this, blocks of metal, blocks of plastic, blocks of wood, full auto firearms.
Full auto firearm.
Whoa! Somebody call the RCMP! Call the RCMP! Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Elixir. There's another one, another source of fully automatic firearm parts. Baking trays. And don't do anything with your lowers if and maybe you own them. Not that anybody does, because they're not lowers, they're chunks of metal.
Never registered, never traced, and no one knows you have them.
Exactly. Nobody register these, so nobody knows that you have them. If you have a paper trail, then, well, that's on you. And after all, maybe you sold them to Mike from Canmore.
Well,
That's
here's
right,
another.
folks.
Here's another thing too with this is it's not just aluminum. Anything. There are even 80% polymer lowers, and
That's
the
what I
concern
just
then
said.
too
Plastic,
with,
plastic, wood, metal.
So the concern with that then is what happens to people who own 3D printers, who are like since Janitor has seen, I don't know if he's made, but he's seen the plans to 3D print an AR-15 on a 3D printer.
Yep,
So
they're all over the internet.
yeah. So there's the thing now is the filament for a 3D printer going to be considered a fully automatic firearm because you can turn it into an M16 with just a little bit of time in, SolidWorks or whatever.
I would say that's even easier than machining, but hey, machining is fucking easy as fuck already, right?
So the argument becomes, at what point do they decide it's an M16 or an AR-15 lower? So, if they walk in halfway through my print and it's only on the bottom half of this receiver, we haven't got to that particular trigger group hole.
Well, just label AR-15 all over it. It's fine.
I think, if I understand, yes, I need to print the serial number first. I have to register and get a serial number for my roll of filament.
Engrave it onto the filament with a laser. Yep. But you have to register your CO2 laser first.
Well, obviously. We can't just let anybody have that.
That was another weird point of debate.
Okay, let's just take a second. Let's just take a second to see how Elixir managed to take his 0.25% aluminum baking pan lower and turn it into a gun.
Oh.
Check it out, folks. You got yourself a gun. It's gun shaped. That must mean it must be a fully automatic Glock 18.
Yeah.
Does anybody make Glock lowers in metal?
Yeah, not in metal. That would be interesting. I mean, then there would all those people who hate Glock just because they're plastic could own a Glock.
That'd be kind of cool, though. Be heavy, though. Ooh, like a ZZ or something like that. Hefty. But, folks, what's been said has been said. What has been suggested has been suggested. Don't turn anything in. Don't admit to anything if nobody asks. Don't post about it. Don't talk about it. Well, actually, no, do talk about it. Tell your people about it. Talk to your representative. Write to them. Mail them letters. There's a post on this subreddit right now about mailing to your member apartment. It's free. You just put the address down and Canada Post takes it right to their doorstep. No funny jokes, nothing about that. Just be serious, be polite, be clear that this is unacceptable persecution of gun owners. Does anybody else have anything else to talk about? Elixir, what did you do this last 3 weeks?
Work.
Oh, there you go. That was a short one.
Didn't you get that Savage and shoot things with it?
Oh, yeah. I did some 600-yard shooting and did all right.
Do you feel accomplished in your 600-yard shooting?
No.
No, why not?
Because I did 7 and something inch group.
Well, so that's just over a 1 MOA.
Yep.
That's unacceptable, isn't it?
It's unacceptable. Right now.
It should be 1 hole.
200.
It should be 1 hole.
You know, my grouping was at 200, half of the fucking target. So, like,
you could be one of those guys that bought those extremely rare M44 long Mosin Nagant rifles that totally only have 5,000 of them ever made. And you put some ammo through it, and then you figure out that your 800 and some odd dollar rifle is actually quite a bad shooter. But hey, it's super collectible, right?
Because it has a side folding bayonet.
Because it has a side folding bayonet and is slightly longer than an M44, but slightly shorter than an M92 9230.
9130.
9130. Fuck off. Don't get me none of your shit, crazy. Enough, folks. Does anybody else have anything else that we should talk about, or shall we move on to the after show?
I was gonna kind of half-assedly talk about a Mills Serp. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my Mauser. This is going to be another kind of unconventional one. And I actually have it disassembled right here in front of me.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, fuck, as I drop it all over my keyboard. It is actually this Sig Sauer P226. And some people might be wondering, well, what the fuck surplus are you going to find of this? And the answer to that is the Swiss police force, actually. And sometimes West German police force as well. The Sig Sauer P226, most people know from sport shooting what it is, what it looks like. I have it torn apart here because I'm cleaning it. So while I clean it, I'll kind of talk about it a little bit. It is in use by a number of militaries in a couple of forms throughout the world. The U.S. Navy SEALs actually, I think they recently got off of it, but they were using the 6-hour P226, and you could buy the same version they were using as the Mark 25 Navy version for a while. So if you ever see a P226 Mark 25 Navy, supposedly it's the same type of gun that the U.S. Navy SEALs were being issued. The P226, I mean, it's a aluminum frame, steel receiver, steel slide, 9mm, 40 cal, 357 SIG, and 22 caliber firearm. Primarily, if you're looking for military surplus or police surplus, you're going to be finding the 9mm versions of them. Usually the police surplus is Swiss or West German. Obviously, they will have handling marks. They often tend to come with a holster as well. But yeah, don't expect to find any that are like U.S. surplus. They only just phase them out, and frankly, if they're going to surplus them, they're probably going to put them up on the CMP for the United States rather than sell them on the international market. To figure out where your SIG is made, I mean, primarily, originally they were made in West Germany, which means that they started production sometime around the 1980s there, because obviously West Germany was not a thing past about 1991, 1992. It just became Germany again. So that tells you they did start production around the 80s there. Those are earlier examples, and those would probably be some of the earlier German police issues, some of the earlier imports to to Canada and the United States. Generally, they won't tend to have a rail on them. The rail variants are fairly new in comparison, and most police forces don't tend to need a rail, so you're not going to find too many railed variants of these around as actual surplus. Obviously, the one I have here is railed, so I purchased this brand new at Flaherty's a couple of years back. But they are a fine shooting pistol. Tradex had them. I think they sold out. They had them for about $700 surplus. The Swiss ones in particular, you can find a Swiss crest on them. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but as far as I understand, it'll be either there or there on the slide to indicate a Swiss model. Obviously, standard ones don't tend to have that. For a West German police model, I'm not entirely sure, but if you look up West German police markings on things like the Walther P1, I can imagine it would probably be very, very similar. There we go. Got it all back together there. You can see it's got a decocker to it as well. Single double there, so you can do that. This one has the short reset trigger kit, which is an upgrade I would definitely recommend for all people, which means that the reset on the trigger is significantly shorter than normal. Normally, it's about a full reset on it there. But yeah, if you're looking for surplus, just some interesting stuff there. You don't tend to see too much. People don't think too much about modern surplus in that regard, and this would definitely be a very modern surplus kind of thing. So if you're looking for that there, you got that. Otherwise, if you're just looking for a good pistol, I mean, you can find these usually around $1,000 new for most of them. They're all made in America now. There were some runs that were made all in Germany, but this one actually is made in Germany slide. and frame there is marked DE as well. So that means that this whole thing is a German manufacturer, which is somewhat uncommon for these. A lot of them had an American frame and for commercial variants, an American frame and a German slide. So it is somewhat uncommon to see all German one. But yeah, they make so many different variants of this like they have one with moron labia on it, if you're into that kind of shit.
That's always good.
I think that's a P226 Legion or something like that, or a Spartan or some shit like that.
I think it's the Legion.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my milsurp. Obviously, magazines are still commonly available, 10-rounders. Holsters, this is a shitty one. I have a better one. Because it's a modern production pistol, if you buy it, the magazines are all properly compatible. The 226 does not have any variant with a butt magazine release. The 220, the earlier version, does have some with the European-style butt magazine release, but all the 226s are button. All the magazines should be properly cross-compatible. All the holsters should be appropriately compatible. So if you do find one of the surplus ones, sometimes you can find them on CGN, probably a bit less than 7. But I remember TradeX had them last retailing at around 7. You might be able to find them in a couple of other places that still sell surplus. And yeah, it's just a great all-around firearm. I don't know the exact list of all the places that use the P226. There's various police forces and militaries from around the world, including actually the Canadian Armed Forces. The military police are being issued out with a 226, but with a more compact 228 variant. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel about get a chance to look at it. Ooh, all shiny and dirty, and my finish on the back got worn off by carpeting in my safe. But yeah, that's P226, another modern and generally not thought of milsurp.
Well, there you go. Thank you for that, Crazy.
No problem.
In 2 weeks, we will meet again, hopefully to reconvene and talk about what efforts we made to rectify this moronic decision by the RCMP. And folks, stay safe out there. Anything else that we'd like to talk about before we go? Going once, going twice. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We will be going into the after show and dropping the link into the IRC channel. And with that, I'd like to thank anybody and everybody that watched and participated. Folks, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we'll be back next week. No, 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now. Yeah. Bye. God, that was the worst.